for a passage. As if all Miss Ainslie's love and faith could bring the dead to life again, even to be forgiven. Her lips quivered when she thought of Miss Ainslie's tenderness for Carl, and the little whispered lullabies that she sang to herself, over and over again. "She does not know," thought Ruth. "Thank God, she will never know." She put the rest of the things into the chest and closed it, covering it, as before, with the rug Miss Ainslie loved. When she went into the other room, she was asleep again, with her cheek pillowed on the letters, while Carl sat beside her, holding her hand and pondering over the mystery he could not explain. Ruth's heart ached for those two, so strangely brought together, who had but this little hour to atone for a lifetime of loss. The first faint lines of light came into the eastern sky. Ruth stood by the window, watching the colour come on the grey above the hill, while 2 or 3 stars still shone dimly. The night lamp flickered, then went out. She set it in the hall and came back to the window. As Miss Ainslie's rug had been woven, little by little, purple, crimson and turquoise, gleaming with inward fires, shone upon the clouds. Carl came over to Ruth, putting his arm around her. They watched it together, that miracle which is as old as the world, and yet ever new. "I don't see," he began. "Hush, dear," Ruth whispered. "I know, and I'll tell you some time, but I don't want her to know." The sky brightened slowly, and the intense colour came into the room with the light. Ruth drew the curtains aside, saying, in a low tone, "It's beautiful, isn't it?" There was a sudden movement in the room, and they turned, to see Miss Ainslie sitting up, her cheeks flushed, and the letters scattered around her. The ribbon had slipped away, and her heavy white hair fell over her shoulders. Ruth went to her, to tie it back again, but she put her away very gently, without speaking. Carl stood by the window, thinking, and Miss Ainslie's eyes rested upon him, with wonder and love. The sunrise stained her white face, and her eyes shone brightly, as sapphires touched with dawn. The first ray of the sun came into the little room and lay upon her hair, changing its whiteness to gleaming silver. Then all at once her face illumined, as from a light within. Carl moved away from the window, strangely drawn toward her, and her face became radiant with unspeakable joy. Then the passion of her denied motherhood swelled into a cry of longing. "My son!" "Mother!" broke from his lips in answer. He went to her blindly, knowing only that they belonged to each other, and that, in some inscrutable way, they had been kept apart until it was too late. He took her into his arms, holding her close and whispering brokenly, what only she and God might hear. Ruth turned away sobbing, as if it was something too holy for her to see. Miss Ainslie, transfigured with an unearthly light, lifted her face to his. Her lips quivered for an instant, then grew cold beneath his own. She sank back among the pillows, with her eyes closed, but with yet another glory upon the marble whiteness of her face, as though, at the end of her journey, and beyond the mists that divided them, her dream had become divinely true. Then he, who should have been her son, bent down, the tears falling unheeded upon her face, and kissed her again. End of chapter 17. Recording by Bridget. End of Lavender and Old Lace, by Myrtle Reed.